as we welcome in our buddy Will Z. He previews the numbers every single Kings game over on the ESPN 1320 website. Will, we're happy to have you here today. A tough start to a 6-game road trip here. The Kings and the Bucks, one of the best teams in the league in Milwaukee. Let's start with the incredible season that Giannis Antetokounmpo is once again having.
I just don't know how. So Giannis is averaging somehow a career high in points. I didn't know he could go higher, but he's up to 31.9 per game this year, and he's just dominating. So when he gets going, it's mostly inside because we know Giannis can't really shoot, but the ability that he has to score that much volume without free throws being a main source and getting to the line, it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, what he's doing has him to the point where he really is unguardable out here. You know, especially if he gets it going, right? Like you got to kind of hope for an off night, no pun intended, but you got to hope from an off night from him. But in your opinion, Will, is it a situation where you kind of load up on Giannis, or would you say, hey, we gotta, he's gonna get his. He may even have 40 in a night, but we got to make sure Drew Holiday doesn't go off. We got to make sure we don't have Grayson Allen getting wide open looks. Brook Lopez, is that kind of where he's at? Where, hey, not just let him get anything, but kind of concede that he's going to get his, but make sure nobody else is going off as well.
Yeah, it's tough with the Bucks have so many good shooters around him where so he's having a bit of a down year from 33.6. Grayson Allen's just lighting it up though, 43.5. And then Brook Lopez, his numbers really surprised me. He's at 41.7 from 3. So it's pretty much pick your poison. It will be interesting to see what the Kings do. It seems like they've done a few different varieties based on the superstars that they're kind of going up against. In Portland, they said pretty much let other people beat us. We're not going to let Dame do it. But in other games, they've kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's been game to game on how they defend the superstars.
Brook feels like he might be kind of a sneaky matchup problem for the Kings tonight. What did your numbers point to anything like that?
They did. So yeah, that 3-point percentage, the Kings have gone up against, I was trying to think back kind of the shooting centers that they've gone up against, and it's really just been Horford and Miles Turner for the shooting centers. But I mean, Lopez has the volume and the percentage on. I think Horford has a better percentage, but Lopez is shooting like 5.8 a game, which is just an insane volume for a center to shoot from 3. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up with him kind of for the first time in that role this year. And then he's so good inside too. The Bucks lead the league or they're third in the league in blocks, and one of the top rebounding teams too. So I think the numbers just show that kind of Lopez is the absolute perfect fit for Giannis and that team.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was Coach Brown in that defense, I'd probably stick Sabonis on Giannis because Giannis has the tendency to play a little closer to the basket, and I'd put Harrison Barnes or Keegan Murray on Brook Lopez because Lopez ain't going inside. He's gonna stay outside. He's not a threat to attack the basket, at least from the numbers may say differently, Will, but from the way I watch the game, he's not gonna take somebody off the dribble. And if they look at a situation where it's like, oh, we got Brook Lopez on Keegan Murray, let's dump it down repeatedly to Brook Lopez in the post. Good. Keeping the ball out of Giannis's hands. So I would probably have Keegan Murray on Brook Lopez, and just defending him, that kind of takes away the matchup problem a little bit. Now, what he's able to do, keeping him off the offensive boards, that may be an issue. But just defending him, that's where the matchup isn't necessarily as much of a problem, I don't think, if you have Keegan or Harrison guarding Brook Lopez.
Yeah, I expect to see a lot of KZ tonight too. Just with I assume he'll get some Giannis minutes. Just makes sense with the length and kind of skill sets. But it'll be interesting to see how the foul trouble is tonight because that's kind of the only way to slow Giannis down at times when he's inside, just to foul him. So
Alex
especially
Lynn,
Sabonis.
Well, I was
Maybe.
you said that, but I was really thinking maybe some Rashawn minutes.
No, Rashawn's got 6. Alex got 6. Get him
Yeah.
out there.
Use them all.
You mentioned KZ Okpala. I want to touch on this real quick. Kenny and I were speculating about this earlier in the week. In your dive into the defensive numbers that have really improved for the Sacramento Kings over the last stretch of games, we've seen KZ Okpala return to the lineup, and not only return to the lineup, but return and play a pretty significant part in the rotation. Is there a direct correlation between the Kings' defensive improvement and KZ Okpala's return to meaningful minutes with the Sacramento Kings, and not the 7 seconds at the end of a half that we got accustomed to seeing him play, or 7 seconds at the end of a quarter?
Yeah, I think there is. It's really kind of when their defense, it's been the last 7 or 8 games that the defense has really not been better, but been like phenomenal league wide and defensive rating wise. And KZ starting.
Your article showed I believe, I think you noted 7 games. It was almost a 6-point improvement in terms of the defensive rating.
Yeah, 106.1 defensive rating over those games, and that would lead the league in the season rankings. So it's
best defensive team in basketball. Let's go, baby.
And then KZ's been getting minutes 1, 2, 3, 4 the last 5 games or so.
Okay.
So actually it started a little before that even. But
don't kill our story, Will. We're gonna give KZ Okpala KZ Okpala.
Oh, he deserves it.
The boost that the Kings defense need. It's just when you watch him, man, he is so active. He does so much on the defensive end. It feels like he is always moving with purpose when the other team has the ball.
And he's just so fun to watch too. Like, I can't believe how
I've
crazy
never seen it before.
Kings Twitter. Exactly. A wing defender. Like, yeah, we've had Davion, and he's been a great point of attack defender, but it's just a different dynamic with KZ that the Kings don't have. So I really think that that's been the turnaround, and then just little improvements by everyone else. So that one kind of big adjustment with KZ coming in, and then the little tweaks here and there.
Yeah, and you look at KZ, and like you guys mentioned, that's a guy that is, I don't know his exact measurement, but 6'7", 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", who can move with the other top wing. Like, he's got long arms. He can defend. He's just as athletic, just as quick. And that's something that we just hadn't seen. Harrison Barnes was the closest guy we would get to that over the last few years. But we were talking about Glenn Robinson III. We were talking about DeQuan Jeffries. We were talking about guys like that. Kent Bazemore later in his career, Jeremy Lamb. Like, we haven't seen a guy like KZ that has the size, quickness, and the skill on the defensive end to keep up with these guys, and it's a game changer. Like, I know a lot of people at the beginning of the season were talking about, you're playing 4-on-5 on offense. Man, sometimes you got to do that, to make sure DeMar DeRozan doesn't get comfortable. Sometimes you got to do that, so.
And it's not like he's bad offensively.
I don't think he is.
Just more passive offensively than anything else.
Yeah, I don't think he is at all.
Yeah, he's actually doing, I think let me pull it up real quick. He's doing really well from the corners in the last few games. So KZ on the corner 3 shooting 50%, which has been a real problem spot for the Kings this year. They don't like the corner for some reason. They're much better above the break shooting team from 3. So to have someone who can hit that corner shot and defend the way he can, that's all he needs to do. Cut smart and hit the corner 3. That's perfect.
Well, probably a bit unfair to ask you this, given the short sample size. Chris Middleton is back. We all know what type of player Chris Middleton is, but we don't really, or do we have any idea on what effect he's had on the team in what, 3 games? I think only 2 games back.
Yeah, 2 games. He's had 2 very different games so far. So in his first game back, he had 17 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 54%. Second game, 5 points on 1 of 11 shooting for 9%. He did have 7 assists and 5 assists though. So he, in that second game especially, didn't really have the scoring, but it seems like he's still finding ways to help as he gets the rust off. I haven't watched as much of the Bucks as I'd like to this year, but I mean, someone as good as him, he could get going pretty much any time, and with how good he is, I wouldn't be surprised if he started to pick it up pretty quickly.
Is there another guy to maybe look out for in your opinion with the Bucks? I mean, I see a guy like Javon Carter in the way that he's playing. I think he's been starting. I don't know if that's because Middleton was out, but he's been starting. Grayson Allen has had some really top flight performances, shooting beyond the arc. They got Connington as well. Is there anybody out there that the Kings should be aware of going into this game tonight outside of the regulars?
Yeah, I think you nailed it with Carter. He's at 40% from 3 on the season. 3.5 assists, 1.5 steals per game. He's kind of doing a little bit of everything and shooting the deep ball. So look out for him. He's only at 8.6 points a night, but it's really, I look, especially for backup players, look more at the percentages than the raw numbers. So just keep an eye out on him.
Great stuff, Will. We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, as always.
Appreciate you guys. Have a good one.